Hey everyone, it is officially soup season here in Minnesota. So tonight I'm cooking up some soup. I'm not sure yet what kind. I just have a bunch of ingredients on hand I'm gonna throw together. Right down here on my tray, I have a big pile of sweet potatoes. There's some green beans, some diced onion, pre-cooked black beans. I did soak the beans and then cook them up from just a dried bean rather than using canned beans. We have some diced multicolored carrot and then also some chopped garlic. In addition, I do have some reserves over on the side here of homemade broth, in which I've had in my freezer for just a couple weeks. I make that ahead of time and then use for soups. And then also my pound of ground beef for a little bit of protein, as well as a can of diced tomatoes. So bear with me, we're gonna make this soup together and see how it turns out. The first thing we're gonna do is add a little olive oil to the pan. And we'll let that heat up for just a minute. The next thing I'm gonna add is our chopped garlic and onion. And you can hear the sizzle of the pan. And then we're just gonna give that garlic and onion a good stir. Once we've stirred the garlic and onion for just a minute or two, then we're gonna go ahead and add the chopped carrot and the sweet potatoes. And then we're gonna give that a good stir for another couple minutes. Next, I'm gonna layer in a little bit of salt. Not too much, just a little, because we can always taste near the end of our cooking time and adjust if we need to. And then I'm also gonna go ahead and add in my pound of ground beef. I'm just gonna crumble that in. And then we're gonna just keep stirring and mixing until all of the ground beef is browned. All right, after about 3 minutes, my ground beef is looking pretty brown. And in case I haven't already mentioned, I have my heat on medium high. And just make sure too, when you're stirring and browning the ground beef, that you're taking the time to break it apart a little bit. Next, I'm gonna go ahead and add my green beans. Green beans are in the pot, and now I'm gonna give it a good stir. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add my broth or my stock. You could use, in this case, I have a veggie stock tonight. You could use a beef stock if you have that on hand. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add that in. And I'm doing about 12 cups of broth or stock. Some of mine is a little bit frozen yet. If you happen to see some chunks of ice there in the pot, they'll go ahead and melt away, no problem at all. And then I have an extra 4 cups in reserve here that I actually just made last night that didn't make it to the freezer yet. All right, and then last but not least, I have a 28-ounce can of diced tomatoes here. I'm gonna go ahead and add that as well. And since my black beans are already pre-cooked, I'm gonna wait to add those until a little bit later after our green beans and sweet potatoes have softened. That way the beans won't get too mushy. About 3 minutes have passed since I've added the green beans, the tomatoes, the broth. My ice chunks are almost dissolved, but I'm gonna go ahead, I turned up the heat to high, and I'm gonna bring this to a nice boil, and then once it comes to a boil, I'm gonna reduce it back down to medium low, and then just let it simmer for a little bit until those vegetables get nice and tender. Okay, so we're at about 20 minutes and everything is just starting to come to a boil now. And I picked out some thyme for seasoning, but before we add the thyme, I'm gonna go ahead and just add in another layer of salt. And I'm also gonna get out from my cabinet up here a little bit of fresh ground pepper. I'm gonna go ahead and add that in too. And then we're gonna just do a little test of the green beans and the sweet potatoes because you just never know how quickly they're gonna cook. So I'm gonna take a little green bean out here, if I can get it. And that's about the size we have. And then also a little chunk of sweet potato. And that's the sweet potato there. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and give them a try. Still a little crunchy, so it's definitely gonna need more time. The green beans are crunchy too. So I'm gonna turn this down to a simmer because it is at a full boil. And we're just gonna let that rest for a little bit until these green beans are tender and the sweet potatoes too. So it's been about 10 minutes since we last checked our green beans and sweet potatoes. I'm gonna go ahead and do another check on them now. A green bean and a sweet potato. Still a little crunchy on the green bean. Sweet potatoes are definitely better, but we'll give it about, I'd say 5 more minutes on the green beans for sure. And then I just wanted to give you a little tidbit about why I chose thyme. I have this awesome resource at home called the Flavor Bible. And basically how it works is you have all kinds of foods listed in here, and then it gives you spices or seasonings that are the best to go with that particular food. And I chose thyme because it matches well with sweet potatoes, tomatoes, and the green beans, which are all in this soup. So again, I'm gonna hold off and add that in more towards the end, as well as the black beans. I'll show you that process when the time is ready. Okay, so it's been about 5 more minutes and I just checked the green beans. They are, in my opinion, perfect. They might have just a slight crunch, but I don't want them mushy either. And so at this time, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna layer in a little bit more salt. And if you are wondering what type of salt I use, this is diamond crystal salt, which comes in a red box. You can find it at just about any grocery store. And then I'm gonna go ahead and add some thyme. I don't measure, I don't know, I assume I have maybe just about a teaspoon, a little bit more than that here in my hand. And I'm gonna sprinkle that in. And I might just give it a smidgen more. I'll go ahead and add that now. And then I still have my black beans in the wings over here because those are pre-cooked and we don't want those to get mushier. We're gonna go ahead and add those in now just to kind of heat them through before we serve the soup. And keep in mind, I have been stirring the soup pretty continuously all along. You might not see that on the video, but as I pause it and restart the video, I am stirring it just to make sure that the heat and the liquids are circulating throughout all of the ingredients. It's been about 5 minutes since I've added the thyme, as well as a little extra salt. And so I'm gonna go ahead and dish myself up a little sample. I'm gonna pour it here into my ramekin dish. I let it cool off for just a bit. So now I'm gonna go ahead and take a little bite here. It's really good. If you feel like you need to add any more seasonings, more thyme, salt, pepper, anything, you could do it at this time in individual bowls, but otherwise your soup is ready to go. Enjoy.